Well, hi there. Warm welcome. You're watching Blueprint Explosive Exclusive, and I'm Meghna Deka. Well, the shadows around Jeffrey Epstein grow darker. He returns from the grave to haunt those who preyed upon young girls with this convicted child sex offender. Friday the 19th December, the deadline to release all the files of Epstein investigation has come today. The truth cannot be buried anymore. The deadline has come to an end, and all the files which are there with the Department of Justice are going to be released by the end of today, American time. A massive new dump, meanwhile, a new photo dump has cracked open his hidden world. Images that investigators say may map the power, the privilege and predation at the very top levels of America and across the world. The dirty secrets of the Epstein estate have been detailed in 95,000 pictures, which now have been recovered and publicly released as well. You can see those pictures on your screens. Over the course of the time, we are going to be following this trail of pictures that is now left behind in black and white and on tape. From Bill Gates' undocumented visits to messages that reduce young 18-year-old girls to a $1,000 transaction. From private exchanges that suggest a supply chain of exploitation which operated in plain sight of young girls, some of them allegedly minor as well. This is the cozy, ungentlemanly club which today gets exposed as the deadline of Friday ends. These aren't rumors. These are images, texts, and timelines, now public and now undeniable. 95,000 photographs, elite names, even former princes, closed doors, and a question that refuses to go away. Who enabled Epstein? Who benefited from this human trafficking alleged link? And who preyed alongside Epstein? Now we are going to reveal what the pictures show, what the messages mean, and why the truth can no longer be buried in the Epstein files. As the entire deadline comes to an end, let's tell you what you can expect to come in the days forward. Let's first start with this photograph. The photograph of Jeffrey Epstein, the predator-in-chief. In this picture, you can see him sitting at a desk and surrounded by 3 girls. 1, 2, 3. Of course, their faces have been redacted. One of the ladies' hand is on Epstein's chest under his shirt. The other is crouching to look at a nearby laptop. You can see the lady too. Then there is Epstein. He seems to be in the middle. He may be helping, it appears he's helping the third lady put on a bracelet. This is part of the latest pictures which now have been released today by the Oversight Committee. These are the faces by the House Oversight Committee, the pictures which have been released. Now, the images which have been released by the House Oversight Committee also show what appear to be quotes from Vladimir Nabokov's novel Lolita, which was written on different parts of a woman's body. You can see the book's cover there. Let's tell you how a copy of the book, which is also about a man's sexual obsession with a child, can be seen in the background of one of the photographs that we are going to put on your screens. What do these photographs show? Well, on a woman's chest, you have this inked on her body. It says Lolita, the tip of the tongue taking a trip. Then there is another photograph which have these words etched on a woman's foot again from the novel Lolita, which says she was low, plain low in the morning, standing 4 feet 10 in one sock. Clearly a child that they are talking about. Then there is another photograph of a woman's neck. You can see that on your screens, on a woman's neck. It says she was dolly at school. Then you have this picture from a woman's spine you can see on your screens. And this tattoo, if you can see, it's not a tattoo, it seems to be made with ink. It says she was Dolores on the dotted line. All of these are quotes from Lolita, the book where it talks about middle-aged man's obsession with a child, a sexual obsession and a fetish with a child. Meanwhile, there are other images, and this includes redacted identification cards, passports which belong to women from different countries, not just America. From Russia, you can see some of these. Some of these passports belong to women from Russia, from Italy, from the Czech Republic, from South Africa, from Ukraine and Lithuania. If there indeed was a sex trafficking racket, it was running all across the world, which is why the call for a larger probe. This release also features screenshots of a late-night text exchange which discuss sending of girls. And I'm not making this up. You can see that screen text message on your screens, which talks about sending girls for someone who's been identified as J with a price tag of 1,000 rupees each. I'm going to tell you what this text message said. We have it on your screens. And of course, we've redacted the passport numbers and so on and so forth. But this is what it says. It talks about $1,000 per girl. That's what it says. Meanwhile, the newly released set also includes images which feature Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates. He can be seen in these two pictures. You have Bill Gates there posing with two girls. These women's faces, of course, have now been redacted as well. This is part of the latest photo dump of the Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates, which has also been released. Meanwhile, the set, which has been released by the House Oversight Committee, also features renowned American political philosopher Noam Chomsky. He's also a very renowned activist. He can be seen locked in a conversation with Jeffrey Epstein in what appears to be a private jet. Of course, this is the picture that we have. Not all of them are directly connected with the sex trafficking racket, but these are the pictures which have come out from Jeffrey Epstein's estate, which is why we are getting you the pictures as they come. And this you can see Jeffrey Epstein, and right next to him, Noam Chomsky, a political philosopher, which appears to be in a private jet. But that's not all. The fresh set of pictures released also includes Trump's White House strategist, Steve Bannon, engaged in a conversation with Jeffrey Epstein. You can see that picture on your screens as well, because Steve Bannon, as everyone knows, was very close to President Trump in his first term as well. And of course, the connection between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. It has been under discussion for many years now, and it has come to the fore more so since Epstein's alleged suicide happened in 2019. Their association reportedly goes back to decades. Remember, the kind of pictures which came out, it is being believed and reported that since 1992, Trump has known Epstein. That from 1992, there was a party with cheerleaders at Mar-a-Lago, as reported in American media. In 1992 is when Epstein was at Trump's Calendar Girl competition. Epstein, interestingly, was the only male guest with 24 girls. This, as reported in the New York Times. In the 1990s, Trump flew in Epstein's jet about 7 times. Trump, however, on his part has said that he has never been on Epstein's jet. Of course, there are flight logs which have been cited in court to say that he has. Meanwhile, in 1993, Trump came out, allegedly had groped a swimsuit model Epstein had introduced them to at Trump's tower. These are the kind of allegations which have been made, that Epstein had introduced them at the Trump tower. Now, earlier this month, remember, just a few months back, we had this explosive email also which came to the light, reportedly showing a conversation between Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, in which Epstein name drops the US President Donald Trump. In fact, on your screens, you can now see the highlighted portions where Epstein refers to Trump as the dog that hasn't barked yet. In fact, he also mentions that the victim, whose name, of course, we've redacted from this, had spent hours with Trump while complaining that Trump has never been publicly mentioned as well. Well, there's also a prince who has lost his crown in the Epstein list. Take a look at these images. Here's former Prince Andrew with late Epstein survivor Virginia. with Ghislaine Maxwell. She can be seen in the background there in a white sleeveless top. That is Ghislaine Maxwell, the partner of Jeffrey Epstein, also someone who has been co-accused in the case. Well, in the next photograph that you have on your screens, you can see Melania Trump as well. She can be seen with Prince Andrew and Epstein at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. This photograph is dating back to the year 2000, before Trump and Melania were married. And here's another image of a Trump-Epstein party, which is dating all the way back to 1992, once again at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. There are several such pictures which have been doing the rounds, and we'll have to wait and see if there are more. Now remember, by law, the Justice Department has only till the end of 19th of December 2025 to release all the files related to the life and death of Jeffrey Epstein and their investigation into it. In fact, the Epstein Files Transparency Act was signed on the 19th of November 2025, which mandates the release of Epstein case-related material with the FBI or the Department of Justice. The order of release has been signed, and now there can be no more cover-up. Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell cases are going to be out. The files are going to be made public and searchable as well. Redactions are only for privacy and security, mostly of the victim, and they're going to be passed along with strong bipartisan support, is what we are picking up. So let me go across to our panelists who are going to tell us what the implications are, why this is a big victory, and what we can expect as the deadline of 19th of December ends in America. David Sofair, Republican strategist, is joining us here on the show. There's also Peter Kuznick is joining us, author and professor of history and director of the Nuclear Studies Institute at the American University. Let me first go across to David Sofair. By the end of 19th of December, as the deadline comes to an end, David, what do we expect, and how do we expect the Trump administration to act upon it?
Great to be on, and thank you very much for having me. And it's also good to see Peter on the panel today. A few things that I have with your introduction. You didn't mention anything about his links to the Clintons, his links to Harvard University. He's also a major player and donor to the Democrat Party as well. And the DNC accepted the donations even after he was convicted for the first time down there in Florida. So, they've released a few pictures today. I've been a staunch proponent of releasing all of the files and all of the information. So I look forward to seeing what else we can find. Today's findings were, alarming and shocking. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. And I think that his tentacles are really, really a lot deeper than we thought when it comes to exactly who's involved and how they were involved. You have to understand that as he was really a big donor to a lot of different causes and clubs, so we can't lump that in that they were complacent in all of his misdeeds and misdeeds and terrible things that he has actually orchestrated over the years. So it will be very interesting to see, the full scope of all the files that will hopefully come out this evening here in Washington.
Well, yes, at least there's going to be a ray of hope that there's going to be justice. After all, these pictures of Lolita quotes being etched upon bodies of women, objectifying them, and even worse, indicating that it was pedophilia that they may have been indulging in. Very, very disturbing, to say the least. Professor Kuznick, however, President Trump has said in the past that this is nothing but a Democratic hoax. Is it? Because as David Sofair also points out, there were links to the Democrats as well.
No, I agree with David that this goes very, very deep, and that Trump is trying to obfuscate when he says this is a Democratic hoax. Trump said during the campaign that he would release all the Epstein files. His base, a lot of the MAGA supporters, are very concerned about this issue for good reason, that there are wealthy, powerful men who are part of this pedophile ring. Now, what David didn't emphasize that I would emphasize is that Donald Trump has been implicated. Epstein refers to Donald Trump as his best friend. Donald Trump and Epstein palled around all the time together. Donald, at least for a decade or so. Then they had a falling out. But
well, he got kicked out of the club. I mean, he got kicked out of Mar-a-Lago.
We will let you answer, David. Let's
Trump
listen into Professor Kuznets. I'll just come to you, David.
Donald Trump at least knew about this. There are a lot of indications that Donald Trump knew that Epstein liked women on the younger side. He says that Donald Trump, there's nothing that implicates Donald Trump as having been sexually involved with underage women. But certainly the moral taint upon Donald Trump for associating with this slimy, disgusting person for all those years. There was a very big article in yesterday's New York Times, which talked about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein and the way they treated and abused women. Donald Trump has been accused by more than 20 women of sexual assault. And so, but when
it comes to the court, that hasn't really reached the court. Yes, you're absolutely right, Professor. That we are waiting for that to come to the courts. But David Sofair, will the rod go right to the top of your party?
For sure. There's no denying that Trump did know Jeffrey Epstein. And this was before he was convicted in Florida for his first offense. Now, for whatever reason, the Democrats still, they still were actively involved with him. They were actively involved taking his money. This is a convicted pedophile here, and I find this very misleading. That you guys are so focused and so wound up on Trump and so one-sided that we can't talk about the things that seem off the limits, like the Clintons, Harvard University. They've taken a lot of money there. Let's focus on that and let's speak about this now. Let's have an open dialogue about that, And the other guy, Noam, who was on the plane, how come he didn't say there that he was a major Democrat political consultant hanging out with a convicted pedophile? So these are the facts. That's what we have to stay focused on. Trump kicked him out of his orbit for a very, very long time ago and way before he had that conviction. So let's talk more about the Dems who are involved in it. And hey, if Republicans are caught up on it, shame on them too. I'm not discriminating. Whoever's involved in this, I hope that
whoever's involved in it should be named, and the evidence should be out so that the public knows that we are moving in the right direction. But here's the problem, Professor Kuznets. Are you sure that there is going to be justice at the end of it? That releasing the files would also mean action as per the files?
First of all, we don't know if the files are actually going to be released, if they're all going to be released.
Okay.
Tom Massey, Republican congressman, who's been in the forefront of this effort, has said if Pam Bondi does not release the files, then the next attorney general can prosecute her, because this is a law that was passed by Congress. Now, David wants to focus on the Democrats, and I want to focus on Trump. But I also think that there are a lot of very slimy Democrats. Susie Wiles said in the Vanity Fair story that Bill Clinton wasn't named in this. I don't know if that's true. Everything about Bill Clinton's past would suggest that this is the kind of thing he could have been implicated in. I want that to come out. I'm glad that Larry Summers got named in this. If Bill Gates was involved, bring it on. I mean, I want to see everybody. The thing that was disturbing to the American people was that Donald Trump, after promising to release the files, tried to stop it, tried to block it. And this went on, and his MAGA base, and probably David also, was very angry with him for his behavior. But then it was forced.
That's the majority of America. Yeah.
So this is the ultimate photo dump. This is the ultimate proof dump that we expect by the end of tonight. But if that doesn't happen, what next? Already you have Professor Kuznets says, let's wait and see if the files actually are released. David Sofair says, bring it on. Anyone who's there, anyone whose name appears, anyone whose photograph is there, let's take them on. Let them face the full brunt of law. and make them pay for their actions. We hope that there's going to be justice at the end of it all. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us here on the show. We're completely running out of time. A short break. Don't go anywhere.